Part 2 of 2019's Overlooked Underrated Albums as listed by me. In my opinion, these albums all got, unfortunately, overlooked and deserve more attention. You know the drill, you saw part 1, may as well just go straight into this list here. Gonna start with International Teachers of Pop. This album got very little to no attention from music critics, I think, across the year. I think only really the Quietus managed to shine a light on this album, and I get why it probably wasn't the most appealing thing in 2019. It is a bit of a throwback disco-y vibe for, like, you know, 80s nostalgia and that kind of thing. Certainly 70s music as well. It just is a really fun and laid-back pop album that I just think a lot of people should be giving more attention to. Think Blondie mixed with some Hot Chip, and you've definitely got a pretty spicy pop band right there. Next I'm going to mention Bent Knee with You Know What They Mean. Perhaps my favourite rock band at the moment, or at least one of my favourite rock bands at the moment. Just completely kill it each time with every release. This one is no exception. It's a fantastic album and somehow ends up not even being their best album, which only goes to show as how strong they are as a band. The vocalist is very, very theatrical and over the top and quite dramatic. I think it could potentially be a bit of an off-putting thing for some listeners, but you know, if you're into a band like Florence and the Machine and you enjoy Florence's vocals, I think you might enjoy this album here, because it's that but kind of maximized in this very rocky environment. They deserve way more attention than they get. There's no reason why rock fans shouldn't be talking about Bent Knee at the moment. It's very strange to not see them getting brought up, so please go listen to this. Next I'm going to go with For Tracy Hi. Checked out this band fairly recently. Didn't really get time to review it. It's pretty close to the end of the year now. Got to be focusing on lists and stuff like that, and you know, family and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to be reviewing too much music towards the end of the year because I'll just end up rushing it all. So I thought I'd bring this up here because it is a really, really strong shoegaze, dream pop, alternative rock album. It follows a general rule of thumb for me where it kind of goes in a more rockier direction for the shoegaze genre, which I typically love. I mean, you know how much I love the band Walrus, and they are exactly like that. But it's also very sweet and catchy too, and some of the tracks towards the beginning are just friggin' great pop rock tracks. Definitely a pleasing listen for the shoegaze fans, so I think you should definitely be getting onto this quickly, and only once again proves time and time again that Japan do shoegaze best. It is just a rule that I don't think will ever change. Next I'm going to go Daniel Pioro with the album Dust. Certainly one of the best classical albums, modern classical albums I've heard in 2019. There were some other ones that I wanted to check out, but I couldn't get access to them because they either weren't on Apple Music or I couldn't really find them anywhere else. So I haven't heard as much as I've wanted to. But certainly Daniel Pioro is dropping a wonderful listen here. I did review this, in fact, so you may remember what exactly I said in that review. I suppose I'm just reiterating what I've already said before, but it is incredibly lovely. Again, if you're just into that kind of music, modern classical type stuff, I don't see why you couldn't get something out of this. Next, I'm going to go with DJ Jenifa with a very good techno album here. Didn't see this one get talked about at all, really. In fact, I saw quite a negative reception towards this, but I think it deserved a bit more love than it got. Some really strong sampling throughout, especially on the first track. I really love the repetitive refrain that keeps cropping up. You know, it's just a house album that you're probably going to like if you're enjoying stuff like Against All Logic and that kind of thing. It's a bit weird. Music nerds and lovers just seem to stop at Against All Logic and never really went any further into the genre. I find that really bizarre because as good as that album is, trust me when I say there's much better out there as well. But yeah, techno and house is a genre I've been getting into way more lately, and this is an album again. You know, it's worth your time. Some banging tunes on here, bangers, banging. Check it out. And finally, to wrap this underrated list off for 2019, gonna go with Hemlock, Ernst and Kenny Siegel. Perhaps the most depressing, overlooked album of the year for me, because I was dead set certain this was gonna get a lot more attention than it got. I could have sworn back in 2015 people were really like hype for Hemlock, Ernst. and his feature on that Milo album, which is an amazing feature as well. So I understood the hype, but maybe he waited a bit too long to release an album, and that's why there's been very little hype to this. But also, Billy Woods and Kenny Siegel got a lot of hype for their album this year, so I thought this would just carry on Kenny Siegel's momentum, and it just didn't. I mean, sure, it's not the most original album, and perhaps, for Hemlock, as a rapper, does display his influences quite clearly, but I think he's doing it better than some of his contemporaries at the moment. I just like his style, I love his flows. So many great tracks on here. Kenny always kills on production, so of course his beats on here are pretty damn great as well. Yeah, man, you need to be checking this out. If you're a hip hop fan, check this out before the year's over. I don't want to see this missed off your hip hop year end list. Like, why would you do that? Why? And that's the list. That is it. Hopefully you're getting recommendations out of these. I can link the part 1 at the end of this video as well, and in the description, in case you didn't see that, because it did drop a few days ago. So I think I've done about 12 albums altogether, so hopefully if you haven't heard any of those 12, then you'll have some new fresh releases to be checking out. If you've heard some of them and you have some thoughts, let me know as well in the comments what you think of these albums, what you think is underrated and overlooked. Tell me. Have a good day. Goodbye. Subscribe. Bye.